Hello and welcome to this final session on Fulgens and Lucrece by Henry Medwall. We are going into the final third of the play. We are going from the very end of a sequence with Cornelius. We're going to recap. We're going to do a few lines back just to get us back into the mode before we move forward into the last section of the play as we get to the plot, basically, as we get to the contest of which the two suitors for Lucrece's hand will be judged, which in theory is the primary action of the play, but considering how much of the action of the play has been about people wondering what this play is and what's going on in the play and are we in the play, I'm not sure. I wonder whether we actually care about the A plot, because the B plot is so much more interesting, and the A and the B plot is also very interesting. And there's a niche joke that you will only get if you've read the rest of the play. Going into the text today, we have these three reprobates who've been with us most of the week. So reading A and Gaius today, the love interest is...
Hi, I'm Greg, and I can't wait to see what happens.
Yes, and for clarity, for those new, when I said A and Gaius, I don't mean A Gaius. There's a character called A who is a servant, and Gaius. Reading the servant known only as B.
I'm Eric, and I'm also curious to find out what happens. Although I can kind of guess, but I mean, not quite. No, we'll see. We'll see.
And reading Lucrece herself, a titular character, is...
Liza Graham, actor, singer, and general theatre bod in London.
And reading Cornelius, one of the wealthy-ish sort of suitor type person, is going to be me, and I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be generally moving things forward and very occasionally doing something that looks a little bit, but probably isn't quite, acting. So, without further ado, we are going to conclude, which we ended the last episode, with a scene with Cornelius. We're going to just go into a little bit of this to see if this is a joke that is going to be set up for a joke that will be fulfilled later. We shall find out in a moment. So Cornelius earlier entered in the costume of a gallant, and we've had a description of the kind of clothes he's been buying, so he probably looks like an absolute twonk. He's talking to B, saying that he really wants to go and find out, send a message to his love, and B's not so sure. He needs something from Cornelius to identify who he is, so he's going to ask for some token. B, could you ask for some token of me, please?
Then some token you must give me, for else she will not believe me that I came from you.
Marry, that is even wisely spoken. Command me to her by the same token, she knoweth it well enow, that as she and I walked once together in her garden, hither and thither, there happened a strange case, for at last we did see a bird sitting on a hollow tree, an ash, I trow it was. Anon she prayed me for to assay if I could start the bird away.
And did ye so? Alas, alas.
Well, why the devil sayest thou so?
By cock's bones, for it was a cuckoo, and men say among that he that throweth stone or stick at such a bird, he is like to sing that bird's song.
What the devil reck I therefore? Here, what I say to thee evermore, and mark thine errand well. Now, sir, I had no stone to throw withal, and therefore she took me her musk ball, and thus it befell. I kissed it, as straight as any pole, so that it lighted even in the hole of the hollow ash. Now, canst thou remember all this?
By God, I would be loath to do amiss, for sometime I am full rash. Ye say that ye kissed it even in the hole of the hollow ash as straight as a pole, said ye not so?
Yes.
Well then, let me alone. As for this errand, it shall be done as soon as ye be go.
Farewell, then. I leave thee here, and remember well all this gear, howsoever thou do. And
Yes, hardly.
Sorry.
I wasn't sure if I should wait for that.
Yeah, no, and that's where we got to last time. So just we're now going into new material.
Mhm. Yes, heartily this errand shall be spoken, but how say you, sirs, by this token? Is it not a quaint thing? I went he had been a sad man, but I see that he is a made man. I see well he is a made man in this message doing. But what choose he from me? I am but as a messenger per day. The blame shall not be mine, but his, for I will his token report. Whether she take it in earnest or in sport, I will not thereof miss. Be she both or well paid, I will tell her even as he said.
And enter Lucrece.
God avow, here she is. It is time for me to be wise. Now welcome, lady. For the flower of prize, I have brought you twice or thrice within this hour, I wis.
Me, sir? Have you sought me?
Yea, that I have by God that bought me.
To what intent?
Marry, for I have a few, for I have things a few, for the which I must to you show by my master's commandment. Publius Cornelius is his name, your very lover in pain of shame, and if ye love him, not ye be to blame. For this I dare say, and on a book make it good. He loved you better than his own heart blood.
His heart blood? Nay, nay, half that love would serve for me.
Yet, sith he did you first see, in the place where he dwells, he had loved you so in his heart that he setteth not by himself apart, nor by no man else. And because he should give credence unto my saying is out in his absence, and trust to what I say, he told me tokens 2 or 3, which I know well as he told me.
Tokens? What be they?
Let me see. Now I had need to be wise, for one of his tokens is very nice, as I ever heard tell. He prayed you for to believe me by the same token that ye and he walked together by a hollow tree.
All that I know well.
Then I'm in the right way. But I have some other thing to say, touching my credence, which, as I think, were best to be spared, for haply you would not have it declared before all this audience.
Nay, nay, heartily, spare not. As for my deeds, I care not if all the world it heard.
Marry, then I shall proceed. He showed me also in very deed how there sat a bird, and then ye delivered him your musket ball for to throw at the bird withal. And then, as he said, he did no worse, but even fair kissed him on the knock of the arse.
Nay, there thou liest falsely by my fay.
In troth, it was on the whole of the arse that I should say. I wist well it was one of the two, the knock or the hole.
Nay, nor yet so.
By faith, ye kissed him, or he kissed you on the whole of the arse. He chose you now. This he told me sure. How be it? I speak not in reproof, but for it was done, but for good love, and for no sinful pleasure.
Nay, man, thou art far amiss. I know what thy errand is, though thou be negligent. Of thy folly thou mayest well abash, for thou shouldst have said the hollow ash. That hole thy master meant.
By God I vow, I trow it was. I cry you mercy, I have done you trespass, but I pray you take it in patience, for I mistook it by negligence. Mischief come thereon. He might have sent you this gear in a letter, but I shall go learn mine errand better and come again anon.
And exit B.
Yea, do so heartily. Now, forsooth, this was a lewd message as ever I heard sith I was bore. And if his master have thereof knowledge, he will be angry with him therefore. For it hath been my condition alway, no man to hinder, but to help where I may.
And we'll just pause before the entrance of A. So yeah, we thought it was the setup for a joke, and lo it was.
It was low.
It was low. It was a low blow in a small hole. Not. We do have an arse fixation in this play, don't we? We had someone potentially preferring to go behind them before. We've had various things coming out of holes, we've we've had a few. What was the one about feeding wife a turd or something like that? There was something that was particularly scatological in earlier. So yeah. I did not see coming, to be honest, the pun of ash and arse. I actually rate that as a quite well constructed pun.
I do like that at one point B lets her know that he's not judging. He's like, I speak it not in reprove, you did it for love.
Oh dear. I was glad I was on mute.
Yeah.
I was freezing.
You know, I do know this play. I should have remembered that was where it was going, but I had forgotten, and I did genuinely laugh at that point. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign.
Yeah, I was reading that and trying not to go, what the hell? Okay. Yeah. I feel like I was set up now. I feel very dirty.
And so you were. Some dude 400 years ago set you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel so dirty now.
It was all a cunning plan.
It's
quite a while to
Henry
wait for
Medwall.
Quite a while to wait for a payoff, but he's like, worth it.
It's a shout from a grave somewhere.
Yeah, totally.
Goal.
I'll join an early modern theater group, I said. Philosophy, literature, and metaphor, I said.
I say. We should make this a meme.
Plenty of puns, bums, whatever it is. Yeah.
And yet everything seems to be obsessed with the arse.
Well, B does seem to be kind of the butt of the joke here. But I guess we'll have to wait to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
Of course, yes, but yeah.
Yeah. I think we should move on. I don't
agree.
know if the play is going to move on. It may not. It may not. Anyway, at this moment, Lucrece is still on stage, and it's tag team. It's time for A to come on and say something. Let's see what message has come from A's master.
Fair mistress, liketh it you to know that my master command me to you?
Commandeth you to me.
Nay, commandeth you to him.
Well amended by Saint Sin.
Oh, commandeth he to you, I would say, or else you to him. Now choose you may whether liketh you better, and here he sendeth you a letter. God's mercy, I had it right now, sirs. Oi, is there none among you that took up such a writing? Yet you, I saw you. I pray you, sirs, let me have it again.
Ye are a good messenger for certain. But I pray you, sir, of one thing. Who is your master? Can you tell me that?
Master, what call ye him? Pardon ye what whom I mean well and fine.
Yet I know not so mote I go.
What? Yes, pardon he that would have you so.
I suppose there be many of though, if I would incline. But yet I know not who ye mean. I hold best that ye go again to learn your master's name.
My faith and hold it best. You may say I am a homely guest in earnest and in game.
Abide, I shall go to you near hand. What is your own name? I would understand. Tell me that, or I go. I trow thou canst not well tell.
But my faith not verily well, because ye say so.
And here the stage direction reads, he's scratching his head, and a bit of a pause as he thinks, basically. That is what the stage direction basically translates as being. Another fine mess you've got me into.
Can anyone help? By this light I have forgotten. Now be it by that time I have spoken with some of my company, I shall be ascertained of this gear. But shall I find you again here?
Yea, that thou shalt haply.
And exit A. I think we'll pause there. Very well judged. It was. I love the way you started a line, Greg, and then you figured out what the joke was, and then went for it perfectly. I really enjoyed that of just going, "Where's the letter gone? Where's the letter gone?"
Oh, that was glorious.
I'd love because. Sorry, go, Liza.
I think let's have your thought first, and then I shall say mine.
Well, it's just the way that B sort of set that joke up by saying, "Well, next time we're going to write a letter from my I'll get my, and then it will all be fine. This kind of confusion won't happen." And it's just the way. Not only can he not, he's lost the letter, can't even remember the name of his master.
And the dramatist hasn't given him a name, so of course he doesn't know his own name. He doesn't have one.
Oh God!
Yeah, it's all a bit tragic.
I feel like they deserve each other, kind of. I don't know. Maybe by the end they'll just go skipping off into the sunset.
I ship it.
It's the fact that you could just have, like I did to a smaller degree, you could have so much fun with the audience at that point. Look, there's a chair. There's a letter hidden under a chair somewhere. Come on.
And it's also, Lucrece is knowingly playing on the game as well. When you know who I mean, and Lucrece says, "I know not, so mote I go." And what does this sort of semi-innuendo? But I don't think it's deliberately as an innuendo. He that would have you so, and and
he that would have you so. It depends.
Yeah, and it's just I'm sure he would. I'm sure there are many people who would.
You're gonna have to narrow it down a little more.
Yeah.
Little bit.
Because I've got so many people chasing me.
Woof.
It's that kind of week. It's that kind of week of women being chased by many men. It's entirely accidental. I did not plan to do Fair M at the same time as this, but they share many things. The afternoon and the evening sessions are in weird simpatico. I love that stage direction as well. He's scratching his head and pauses while he tries to think. I mean, it's a lovely detail.
Well, the fact that I was already doing it and I didn't know what the Latin was going to say at that point. But I did so want to do Laurel. Laurel.
Yeah.
I can't help but wonder if in the original production, the how do you call them? The playwright was sitting in the audience, and just stares at him, going, "What do you expect me to do now?"
Give me a name, for God's sake.
Well, I mean, the audience would be able to shout out that A's master is supposed to be Gaius, so he should be able to shout his name out, and the audience might be able to do it for you. But obviously, you can't allow that to happen, so you've got to be careful about that. That's a note for future performance.
But the letter could just be. You could have 15 minutes trying to find the letter.
Yeah. Okay, now we should mention at this point, before we go into the next scene, is that Cornelius, I think it's Cornelius, not only has he bought himself fancy clothes, which he's about to demonstrate to Lucrece, so he should be looking ridiculous, but he's also hired a troupe of dancers. I think that was the theme of it. I think that's where we were last time. Unless that was actually Gaius, but I'm sure it will become clear in a moment who hired the dancers.
Would you like me to read the stage directions while you're doing your bit here?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
That you don't. I'm just thinking that at least it stays clear.
It does indeed, because we have a reasonably lengthy sequence with various people doing bits and bobs before we get to a pause. When serious speechifying occurs. We'll go to the exit of the dancers and then we'll pause there, I think. Seems like a good plan. So anyway, if you'll do the stage direction, I'm sure you can translate the Latin of that.
I can do that one, yes. Here, exit A. And then enters Cornelius.
Now, fair Lucrece, according to the appointment that ye made with me here this day, because ye shall not find me there negligent, here I am come your will to obey, and ready am I for myself to say, that as touching the degree of noble condition betwixt me and Gaius, there may be no comparison, and that shall I show you by apparent reason, if it shall like you that I now begin.
Nay, ye shall spare it for a little season, till such time that Gaius your adversary come in. For I will give you therein none audience, till ye be both together in presence. And in any wise keep well your patience, like as I have bound you both to the peace. I forbid you utterly all manner of violence during this matter, and also that ye cease of all such words as may give occasion of brawling or other ungodly condition.
There shall be in me no such abusion in word nor deed, I you promise.
Here enters B.
But now, let me see, what occupation or what manner of pastime will ye devise, while that these folk doth tarry this wise? Will you see a base dance after the Guise or of Spain, while ye have nothing to do, or all thing have I purveyed that belongeth thereto?
Sir, I shall give you the looking on.
Will you do so? I ask no more. Go soon, and bid them thence anon, and cause the minstrels to come in before.
B fetches the minstrels.
As for one of them, his lip is sore. I trow he may not pipe, he's so psych. Spell up tambourine, ik bid, bite, free like?
Dancers. Sorry. The dancers come in.
Forsooth, this was a... Forsooth, this was a godly recreation. But I pray you, of what manner nation be these godly creatures? Were they of England or of Wales?
Nay, they be wild Irish portingales that did all these pleasures. Howbeit it was for my master's sake, and he will deserve it, I undertake, on the largest wise.
Go thyself. Why stands thou so? And make them cheer. Let it be do the best thou canst devise.
Yes, they shall have cheer heaven high, but one thing I promise you faithfully, they get no drink there too.
Excellent with dancers and minstrels. And Gaius comes in.
And we'll just pause there before Lucrece speaks. Yes. We have a mini random dance sequence.
That was
singing
beautiful,
earlier.
you guys. I was moved.
Were you moved?
I was moved.
So the bit of text that that B ran horrifically into is Flemish. So that's not just a textual errors, of which there are a few. We had command earlier, which I think should have been commend. But the Flemish is, broadly speaking, play your tambourines, people.
You seem to have all the props over there. I don't know where you keep them.
I have a box. All sorts of sounds can be created. So it's interesting, the concept of wild Irish Portuguese.
Who somehow speak Flemish.
Yes.
Of course.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
So dancers and minstrels, if this was an entertainment for between the courses of someone's banquet, dancers and minstrels were another traditional thing that people had between courses, and sometimes they would be from nations other than England, sometimes as near as Ireland. Otherwise, the fact that one of them has a sore lip indicates to me that they may be playing reed instruments. There may be like a bagpipe of some kind. Not necessarily a Scottish bagpipe. The German bagpipe is called a doodlesack. Sorry, just had to rescue my glass of water from my cat. But yeah, they're or maybe they were shawms, which is not the same thing as a shawarma. But the kind of, very reedy noise that you associate with a lot of medieval through early modern music, you would hear that here.
Well, no, actually, I don't think they were. I think that's what was promised. I think this is a sick note. He may not pipe. So all you've got is a tambourine. So I think there's a sort of diminishedness of it all.
I stand corrected.
But no, I think you're absolutely right about the because he's talking about his sore lip is why he can't play, and so that should be the instrument that he should be doing, or piping of some description. So I really like that. I mean, the thing is, if it's a reasonably long dance and minstrels and whatever is going on, that feels like a good time to go around with the drinks. Just make sure everybody's cups are full. Even if it's not a formal moving any plates around. I quite like that idea that it may have a dual function within a feast context. Okay, that's the fun and games over, people.
But the minstrels can't have any drink.
No, we have this sort of pun thing of, we're going to cheer you all, but not with booze. Well done, everyone. This is the only good cheer you're going to get. Okay, so we now go into dialogue. So we have in the room Lucrece, Cornelius, Gaius, and B. For the majority of what's coming up now, and A will return later. Oh no, A won't return later. No, yes, it's basically Lucrece, Gaius, and Cornelius are going.
A does come back later, but not in this.
But not for a while.
Yes.
And I think we are basically just going to run this at some reasonable pace. I think is probably wise. And we won't stop and start too much unless there's something particularly exciting to pause upon. So, A, again, if you can continue with if you could continue with any stage directions if they appear. I don't know if there are any stage directions that are going to appear. I don't think we even need that.
I don't think there is much, because I'm Gaius now, so it's...
Oh, you're Gaius now, aren't you?
Yes.
Of course.
I can do those stage directions since I'm here.
If there are any, I'm just looking ahead and I'm not seeing.
Yeah, I can't see any.
So just enjoy. I'm sure this will be wonderful. Okay, so Lucrece speaks next.
Lo, here this man is come now. Now may ye in your matter proceed. Ye remember both what I said to you touching my answer. I trow it is no need any more to rehearse it.
No, in very deed, for much rehearsal would let the speed of all this matter, it needeth no more. Let us roundly to the matter we come for.
Yea, that I pray you as heartily as I can. But first meseemeth it were expedient that ye both name some indifferent man, for to give betwixt you the foresaid judgment.
Nay, as for that, by mine assent, no man shall have that office, but ye.
And I hold me well content that it so be.
Yea, but notwithstanding that ye thereto agree that I should this question of noblesse define, it is a great matter which, as seemeth me, pertaineth to a philosopher or else a divine. Howbeit, sith the choice of this matter is mine, I can be content under certain protestation, when that I have heard you, to say mine opinion. Lo, this wise I mean, and thus I do intend, that whatsoever sentence I give betwixt you two after mine own fantasy, it shall not extend to any other person. I will that it be so, for why no man else hath therein ado. It may not be noted for a general precedent, albeit that for your parts ye do thereto assent.
As touching that point, we hold us well content. Your sentence shall touch no man but us twain, and sith ye shall give it by our own agreement, none other man ought to have thereat disdain. Wherefore all this doubt ye may well refrain, and in that matter principle this time would be spent.
Then will I begin?
I hold me well content.
Sith ye have promised, fair Lucrece, heretofore, that to the more noble man ye will incline, vary not fro that word, and I ask no more, but for then shall the victory of this cause be mine, as it shall be easy to judge and define, for every creature that any reason has, meseemeth I durst make myself judge in this case, save that I fear me the beauty of your face should therein blind him so that he might equally discern the wrong from the right. And if he were half so wise a man indeed as he reputed himself for to be, upon your said answer he should not need to gainsay in this matter or traverse with me. My nobleness is known through all the city. He knoweth himself the nobleness of my kin. And at that one point, my process, I will begin. Among all the histories of Romans that ye read, where find ye any blood of so great nobleness as hath been the Cornelius's, whereof I am bred? And if so be that I would therein hold my peace, yet all your chronicles beareth good witness that my progenitors and ancestors have been the chief aid and defence of this noble city. How oft have mine ancestors in times of necessity delivered this city from deadly peril, as well by their manhood as by their policy. What jeopardy and pain they have suffered in the quarrel, the empire to increase, and for the common weal it needeth not the specialities to rehearse or name, sith every true Roman knoweth the same. In every man's house that histories be rife and written in books, as in some places be the jests of Arthur or of Alexander's life, in the which stories ye may evidently see and read how Carthage, that royal city, by Scipio of Africa, my great-grandsire, subdued was, and also ascribed to his empire, and many other cities that did conspire against the noble senate, making resistance as often as necessity did it require, they were reduced unto due obedience, either by the policy or by the violence of my said ancestors. The histories be plain, and witness that I speak not these words in vain. My blood hath ever taken such pain to safeguard the commonweal for ruin and decay, that by one advice the Senate did ordain them to be named the fathers of the country. And so were mine authors reputed alway, for in every deed they did upon them call for help, as the child doth on the father natural. Howbeit, to pray them it was no need at all, for of their own minds they were ready alway, in token of the same, for a memorial of their deserts, the city did edify triumphal arches, whereupon ye may, to my great honour, see at this day the images of mine ancestors, even by and by, because that their nobleness should never die. In token also that they were worthy great honour and praise of all the country, it is commanded and used generally that every citizen that passeth that way by the said images he must obey, and to those figures make a due reverence, and else to the laws he doth great offence. Sith it is so, then, that of convenience such honour and homage must needs be due to these dead images, then much more reverence to me should be given. I trow you think so, for I am their very image, and relic too of their flesh and blood, and very inheritor, as well of their goods as of their said honour. To me they have left many a castle and tower, which in their triumphs they rightfully won. To me They have also left all their treasure in such abundance that I trow no man within all Rome, sith it first began, had half the store, as I understand, that I have even now at once in my hand. Lo, in these my things my nobleness doth stand, which in mine opinion sufficeth for this intent, and I trow there is no man through all this land of Italy, but if he were here present, he would to my saying in this matter assent, and give unto me the honour and preeminence, rather than make against me resistance. I marvel greatly. What should thy mind incense to think that thy title therein should be good? Oh, pardie, thou canst not say for thy defence that ever there was a gentleman of thy kin or blood, and if there were one, it would be understood without it be thyself, which now of late, among noble gentlemen, playest checkmate.
No more thereof. I pray you, such words I hate. And I did forbid you them at the beginning to eschew the occasion of strife and debate.
Nay, let him alone. He speaketh after his learning. For I shall answer him to everything when he hath all said, if ye will hear me, as I think ye will of your equity.
Abide, I must make an end first, pardie. To you, sweet Lucrece, I would have said before that if ye will to my desire in this matter agree, doubtless ye shall bless the time that ever ye were bore. For riches shall ye have at your will evermore, without care or study of laborious business, and spend all your days in ease and pleasant idleness. About your own apparel ye can do none excess in my company that should displease my mind. With me shall ye do none other manner of business, but hunt for your solace at the Hart and Hind, and sometime, where we convenient game find, our hawks shall be ready to show you a flight which shall be right pleasant and cheerful to your sight. And if it so be that in hunting ye have no delight, then may ye dance a while for your disport. Ye shall have at your pleasure both day and night all manner of minstrelsy to do you comfort. Do what think you will, I have to support our charges, and over that I may sustain, at mine own finding, 100 or twain. And as for him, I am certain his ancestors were of poor degree, albeit now within a year or twain, because that he would a gentleman be, he hath him gotten both office and fee, which, after the rate of his wretched sparring, refuseth scarcely for his bare living, sufficeth scarcely for his bare living. Wherefore, sweet Lucrece, it were not according for your great beauty with him to dwell, for there should ye have a threadbare living with wretched scarceness, and I have heard tell that maidens of your age love not right well such manner of husbands, without it be they that forceth little to cast themselves away. I mean, specially for such as them as may speed better, if they will, as ye be in the case. And therefore, Lucrece, whatsoever he will say, his title against you to force and embrace, ye shall do your own self too great a trespass, if ye follow his part and incline thereto. Now, say what you will, sir, for I have all do.
With right good will I shall go too, so that ye will hear with me as great patience as I have heard you. Reason would so. Whatsoever I shall speak in this audience, either of mine own merits or of his insolence, yet first unto you all, sirs, I make this request, that it would like you to construe it to the best, for loath would I be as any creature to boast of mine own deeds. It was never my guise. On that other side, loath I am to make any reporture of this man's folly, or to him to despise. But nevertheless, this matter toucheth me in such wise, that whatsoever ye think in me, I must proceed unto the very truth thereof, as the matter is indeed. To make a great rehearsal of that ye have said, that I will not suffer, but nevertheless, true things for yourself in substance ye have laid, which as ye suppose maketh all your nobles, upon the which things dependeth all your process. First, of your ancestors ye allege the noble guests. Secondly, the substance that ye have of their bequests. In the which things only by your own confession standeth all your nobleness. This said ye before. Whereunto this I say under the correction of Lucrece, I'll judge here that ye are never the more worthy in mine opinion to be called noble therefore, and without ye have better causes to show than these, of reason ye must the victory of this matter less. To the first part, as touching your ancestors' deeds, some of them were noble, like as ye declare, the stories beareth witness, I must grant them needs, but yet for all that some of them were of contrary disposition, like as ye are, for they did no profit, no, more do ye, to the common weal of the noble city. If ye will have the title of nobleness win, show what ye have done yourself theretofore. Some of your own merits let's ye bring in, if ever ye did with any sith ye were bore, but surely ye have no such thing in store of your own merits, whereby of right ye should appear noble to any man's sight. But nevertheless, I will you not blame, though you speak not of your own deeds at all. And to say the truth ye may not for shame. Your life is so voluptuous and so bestial, in following of every lust sensual, that I marvel no thing in my mind if ye leave your own deeds behind. He weeneth that by his proud countenance of word and deed with nice array, his great oaths and open maintenance of thefts and murders every day. Also his riotous disports and play, his sloth, his cowardice, and other excess, his mind disposed to all uncleanness, but these things only he shall have nobleness. Nay, the title of nobleness will not ensue a man that is all given to such insolence, but it groweth of long-continued virtue. As I trust, lady, that your indifference can well define by your sentence, his ancestors were not of such condition, but all contrary to his disposition, and therefore they were noble without and fail, and did great honour to all the country. But what can their said nobleness avail to him that taketh a contrary way, of whom men speaketh every day, so great dishonour that it is marvel the country suffereth him therein to dwell? And where he too whiteth me of poor kin, he doth me therein a wrongful offence. For no man shall thanks or praising win by the gifts that he have of nature's influence. Likewise, I think by a contrary sense, that if a man be born blind or lame, not he himself, but nature therein is to blame. Therefore he doth not me therein reprieve. And as for that point, this I wot well, that both he and I came of Adam and Eve. There is no difference that I can tell, which maketh one man and another to excel, so much as doth virtue and godly manner, and therein I may well with him compare, howbeit I speak it not for mine own praise, but certainly this hath ever been mine condition. I have borne unto God all my days, his Lord, and praise with my his Lord and praise with my due devotion, and next that I bear always to my neighbour's charitable affection. Incontinency and uncleanness I have had in abomination, loving to my friend and faithful with all, and ever have I withstand my lust sensual. One time with study my time I spend to eschew idleness, the causer of sin. Another time my country manly I defend, and for the victories that I have done therein, ye have seen yourself, sir, that I have come into this noble city twice or thrice crowned with laurel, as it is the guise. By these ways, lo, I do arise. unto great honour for a low degree, and if mine heirs will do likewise, they shall be brought to noblesse by me. But, Cornelius, it seemeth by thee that the nobles of thine ancestors every one shall utterly starve and die in thee alone. And where he too witeth me on that other side of small possession, great scarceness, for all that, lady, if you will with me abide, I shall assure you of moderate riches, and that sufficient for us both doubtless. You shall have a man also according to your own conditions in everything. Oh, now, Lucrece, I have showed unto you a part of my title that I claim you by, beseeching you therefore with all my heart to consider us both twain indifferently, which of us twain you will have rather allow more worthy for nobles to marry with you.
Okay, before Lucrece gets a chance to say which of us is more noble than the other, a debate which will go on and on and on. It's a common thing. The play Gentleness and Nobility, which we've done a full cast audio adaptation of, further down the line. It was written in the late 1520s, early 15th, I think, yeah, late 1520s. By John Hayward, covers this debate in a different fashion. Covers many of the same arguments here about, you know, whether you're more noble because of what your ancestors did or what you did, but also plays around with it in lots of other different ways. That's all available on the podcast. There will be a link in the show notes. So this is a not uncommon debate that turns up in other literature before and after this. Eric, before we go to what Lucrece thinks, who would you marry?
Neither of them.
Oh.
No, I mean, not just for comic effect, but also just like one is being more pompous than the other, basically. That's like they're both like peacocks fluffing their feathers and stuff. It's not really, at least I think that's what. Yeah, I mean, it's very all elaborate and stuff. Obviously, that's of course if I manage to stay awake for both speeches. Yeah.
I try to keep my, you know. I think Greg and I, you know, we were very much looking at the end of the line, just going head for the bar, head for the bar, head for the bar. You know, just get to the end and we can have a drink. Because God, they're ridiculously long speeches. Did they feel long? I mean, not just from our performance, but
really? I think it's just on the page they look very long, but I think like in terms of content, they're very sort of. There is a lot of content in them.
And mine at least does get broken up a bit. You know, I go out of order at one point, and Lucrece has to put me down because I'm sort of making it a bit barracky and going for you a bit, and you go no. Terms of engagement are
I said no ad hominem, and I meant it, and you both ignored it.
So, Liza, as yourself rather than as Lucrece, how did you find this debate?
Well, earlier you asked, did it feel long? And I think, well, first of all, I thought you both paced it very well. And weirdly enough, I think the rhymes make it feel shorter, because they always leave you thinking forward to the next line as a hearer. And clearly the playwright has pulled out all the rhetorical stops here. And, you know, before people had the internet, philosophical debates were part of what they did for entertainment. So rhetorically, the question here is, as we've already said, which is more noble, nobleness of ancestry and wealth, or nobleness of nature? Now, we haven't seen that much evidence that that Gaius actually is of noble nature.
Yeah.
But he does seem to be a slightly better person than Cornelius, who, as well as having ancestors whose statues you have to bow to, nice touch there, as well as having those, his behavior seems to be sort of a parody of the lifestyle that young noble men of this era, of the era where the play was written. He seems to, you know, he dresses fancy, he dances, he talks about hunting, he entertains musicians. So he has great store, but does he use it to do good? Does he give it to the church? Does he give it to charity? Does he spend it on study? No, he spends it on fun. We don't like fun.
How dare you?
Yes, my life is voluptuous and bestial, following of every lust sensual, and sort of going, yeah. I mean, it was a question actually we asked, I think, on the first day, and I think this sort of answers it. Actually, is in my head for a lot of the play, I'd been thinking of Cornelius as being an old man, who's rich in that sort of conventional thing of, and then you have the young lover who's poor. But actually, I think they're both young from this. There's nothing. We haven't had anything that suggests he's an older man, and so yeah, I think that idea that it's making a comment about the younger generation. Which way will they go in court?
It is a favorite theme of these plays. Is these kids today, or look at this goddamn hipster with his fancy clothes and his fancy music that doesn't even have a bagpipe.
Yeah, he's very like Pride, who we had in the afternoon sessions with nature. There's a lot of pride in this man. I think it's also interesting with Gaius is that he does talk about himself as following a more virtuous life. I don't know if that makes him more appealing, but he does talk about himself in that sense. Talking about a god singular as well. It could be a late Roman household. We don't have a date stamp on it, so he could believe in the one god, and people did. There are lots of signifiers that he is a good Christian. In that latter bit, when he does get a bit, you just get that little bit of morality doctrine sort of coming at you very briefly at the end there.
I couldn't help but wonder though, what is Lucrece doing in all this time? Is she just are they all sitting down and or like is she standing there?
Picnic. It's like they go, oh, anything interesting yet?
What I really like about the setup of this scene is that, I mean, it may be disappointing for those who are fans of the title of the play, but she isn't there with her father.
Well, presumably
it's
he's
just
doubling.
her.
I wonder if he's doubling someone or other.
Well, I wondered that, but it doesn't seem to quite, unless it's doubling the maid. I don't know who he could really double with.
Sorry.
So I'm wondering about. I was wondering about that. I mean, I think you can vaguely double this, but I don't quite see, with only 7 actors, why you would bother.
Yes, I'm reminded of my friend Keith's theory. Keith, who has read with us a time or two, that if you have a character. If you have a character who appears early and then disappears, what that actor is doing is going to the box office to count the take. But then, if this was a commissioned entertainment for a banquet, that also doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's it is. I haven't actually been properly looking out to see that. So he obviously can't double with Cornelius. He could double as Ancilia. He cannot double as A and B. Obviously can't double with Lucrece, so it's only Ancilla and Gaius. So if Daddy and your husband to be turn out to be the same person,
Oedipus. Wait, no.
It has a certain.
No, not either, but the other one.
No, wrong way around. But yeah.
It's a bit creepy.
Electra.
The Electra complex.
Yeah, there we
go.
Sorry. I must admit, and I'm sort of thinking and that was me completely cold reading that speech again. I in the end ended up playing what he was saying about himself cynically, because I felt that he was so about what Cornelius had said, and how he didn't like it and how he should have been praising himself, that actually, in the end, there was probably some element of truth. I was reading as there's some element of truth to what I'm saying, but actually, I'm going to have to play it up. And I don't know why, it just felt like, slightly cynical me.
Now, I mean, we kind of know where this is all going anyway. I mean, because we had a scene with Gaius and Lucrece, we haven't had a scene with Cornelius, and she's already given him a bit of a rhetorical blow on the head. I don't think there's going to be any surprise as to what the verdict is here. And in a sense, the contest is purely, an exercise, just so that we have this, rhetorical flourish as part of the entertainment. I don't think there's any dramatic tension here. That's sort of the only problem with this scene, actually. I don't have a problem with the long speeches. I think we can make that work, because I think it can be dynamic. I think, we can be doing and ooh and
Wimbledon
reactions.
Yeah.
But yeah, so shall we find out how it ends?
Oh, I already know you've spoiled it.
It's not really a spoiler. I am literally going from the evidence of the play so far. I haven't actually looked ahead, even though I have read this play before and I know it quite well. But apart from that, apart from all those things, absolutely don't know. Eric.
I just had a realization that A and B are basically internet trolls, and they don't have names, and they basically troll the entire play.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, I think that really does sum up their function. They are just there to slightly put I mean, they don't even throw proper spanners in the works, do they? They sort of throw a hairpin in the works. That's about as far as they get.
Pretty much.
Misdelivered messages. Yeah, it's fine.
Right. So, are we ready to hear? There was a typo there. You've got hard rather than heard.
I wasn't going to mention it, but yeah.
Yeah, there are quite a few minor typos that I've noticed, but that's part of this editorial exercise in tidying up the script.
I'd love to go back through that last speech with knowing the true words and just going, because actually then I'd hit it.
Yeah, there were only a few. In fact, actually, some of them I'd like to change back because a few of them had been modernised.
There were a couple of misreadings, like less for Liza, and and well, that's not you, Greg. That's the text, and it's things like nobles where. Maybe that was the original spelling.
It should have been noblesse. There are
I think I corrected it once, then forgot.
Noblesse and arguably richesse, or riches or richesse a time or two.
It's interesting. There's one, for example, that was updated to cowardice, which was originally cowardy. Sloth is cowardy, which
wow, love it.
Seemed to be an original thing. I think I'd stick with cowardice because otherwise it's just weird. But I just found that as an interesting textual
note. Sometimes an older word has a. Sometimes you like the sound of the older word, and the audience is going to get it anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We know what a coward is. He's cowardy.
I'm just laughing about some insults that we had earlier in the week, like lick turd. That's just a very good insult.
It is indeed. We should introduce it more into everyday conversation because it lands very well for today. Scatological insults are pretty evenly weighted, so they work quite well. Okay. Let's find out Lucrece's verdict. So we've had the speech from Gaius.
Sirs, I have heard you both at large.
Nay, abide, Lucrece, I pray you heartily. Sith he layeth many things to my charge, suffer that I may thereupon reply.
Iwis, replication shall not be necessary without that ye have some other thing in store to show for yourself than ye did before.
Why, lady, what thing will ye desire more than I have showed to make for nobleness?
Yes, something there is that maketh therefore better than ye have showed in your process. But now let me see, what man of witness, or what other proofs will ye forth bring, by the which either of you may justify his saying?
As for my part, I will stand gladly to the commune voice of all the country.
And ye likewise, sir.
Yea, certainly I shall in no wise your word disobey.
Then will I betwixt you both take this way. I shall go inquire, as fast as I may, what the commune fame will therein report. And when I have thereof a due evidence, then shall I again to you resort, to show you the opinion of my sentence, whom I will judge to have the preeminence.
Nay, fair Lucrece, you require, let me not now depart in vain, not knowing the effect of my desire.
Sir, although it be to you a pain, yet must ye do so, even both twain. Each of you depart hence to his own place, and take no more labour or pain in this case. For as touching the effect of my sentence, I shall go write it by good advisement soon after that I am departed from hence. And then to either of you both shall be sent a copy of the same to this intent, that of none other person it shall be seen, sith it concerneth but only you twain.
This is a good way, as in my mind. Are not ye, sir, content in likewise?
I won't never, yet I will praise as I find, and as I have cause. That is ever my guise.
Lucrece, will ye command me any service?
No service at all, sir. Why say ye so? Our Lord speed you both, wheresoever ye go.
And exit Publius Cornelius and Gaius Flaminius and A.
Now some maid, haply, and she were in my case, would not take that way that I do intend. For I am fully determined with God's grace, so that to Gaius I will condescend. For in this case I do him commend as the more noble man, sith he this wise by mean of his virtue to honour doth arise. And for all that, I will not despise the blood of Cornelius, I pray you think not so. God forbid that ye should note me that wise, for truly I shall honour them wheresoever I go, and all other that be of like blood also. But unto the blood I have little respect, where the conditions be sinful and abject. I pray you all, sirs, as many as be here, take not my words by a sinister way.
And enter B.
Yes, by my truth I shall witness bear, wheresoever I become another day. How such a gentlewoman did openly say that by a churl's son she would set more than she would do by a gentleman bore.
Nay, sir, then ye report me amiss.
I pray you tell me, how said ye then?
For God, sir, the substance of my words was this. I say, even as I said when I began, that for virtue excellent I will honour a man, rather than for his blood, if it so fall that gentle conditions agree not with all.
Then I put case that a gentleman bore have godly manners to his birth according.
I say of him is to be set great store. Such a one is worthy more laud and praising than many of them that hath their beginning of low kindred, else God forbid. I will not affirm the contrary for my heed, for in that case there may be no comparison. But nevertheless, I said this before, that a man of excellent virtuous conditions, although he be of a poor stock bore, yet I will honour and commend him more than one that is descended of right noble kin, whose life is all dissolute and rotted in sin. And therefore have I determined utterly that Gaius Flaminius shall have his intent. To him only shall I myself apply to use me in wedlock at his commandment, so that to Cornelius I will never assent, although he had as great possession as any one man in Christian region. I shall in no wise favour or love his condition, howbeit that his blood requireth due reverence, and that shall I give him with all submission, but yet shall he never have the preeminence, to speak of very noblesse by my sentence. Ye be his servants, sir, go your way, and report to your master even as I say.
And exit Lucrece before we go into the final AB plot. It's an interesting way this has been filed away. it's really interesting that she sends them both away and then just says to the audience what her decision is that there isn't a a love scene or what what the way this works is really interesting.
I think. Sorry,
Yeah,
go on.
go Liza. No.
I think what she's doing, and I'm going on some pretty sketchy legal history. I'd welcome the opinion of a lawyer if we had one. I think she's following the procedures of a court of law. Remember how at the beginning she says expressly that this isn't intended to set a precedent, because, we know what the conclusion is going to be, and it isn't intended that, she doesn't want to upset the social order. Noble-born people are still noble-born. She's not saying that low-born people are better, is what the dramatist is having her say in order to have this entertainment pass muster. And throughout, I think she's in the position of a judge, and giving a written sentence rather than a spoken one is part of that.
Mm.
And,
I think that holds a lot of weight. So, I mean, remember, he's written by a lawyer, so he's a notary. He has legal training, and so that sort of makes sense. That does make sense. I mean, that's interesting. There is a sort of love scene that we had earlier, but it doesn't feel that the play is actually that concerned with questions of love, actually, and other Curtis films. Other thoughts?
Why do they just keep giving A and B messages to carry? They're obviously incompetent and and how do you call it? They don't want to give the message any weight or importance.
I guess sometimes a terrible servant is the only servant you have.
Yeah, because play.
True.
Just a link up between, her speech and the final sequence. Any other thoughts about? I really like Liza's point. That sort of desperate rearguard action. I'm not here to say being noble is and having lots of money is bad. By the way, guys, I think that point is really, really important. Okay, shall we go into the final AB? Okay, B is left alone on stage for the moment.
Shall I do that errand? Nay, let be. By the road, ye shall do it yourself for me. I promise you faithfully I would. My master had been in Scotland when he did put this matter in her hand to stand to her judgment. But for as much as it is so that this wrong to him is due by a woman, he must let it go and hold him content. But he is of such a disposition that when he heareth of this conclusion, he will be stark mad. Yea, by my troth, it's mad as an air. It shall make him so full of care that he will himself bear it, even as it were a lad. And so would not I, so mote I thee. For this matter, and I were as he, it should never anger me. But this I would do. I would let her go in the mare's name.
And enter A.
What? Now, sirs, how goes the game? What, is this woman gone?
Yea, man.
What way have she taken?
By my faith, my master is forsaken, and needs she will agree unto thy master. Thus she saith, and many causes therefore she layeth, but why it should so be.
I marvel greatly whereof that grew.
By my faith, she said, I tell thee true, that she would needs have him for his virtue, and for none other thing.
Virtue? What the devil is that? And I can tell I shrew my cat to mine understanding.
By my faith, no more can I, but this she said here openly, all these folk can tell.
Oh, now say ye, good women, Is it your guise to choose all your husbands that wise? By my troth, then I marvel.
Nay, this is the fear, so more to go, that men choose not their wives so in places where I have be. For wives may well complain and groan, albeit that cause that have they none, that I can hear or see. But of wedded men there be right few, that will not say the best is as true. Therein they all agree. I warn you, wedded men every one, that other remedy have ye none. So much for your ease, and ye would study till tomorrow. But let them alone with sorrow when they do you displease.
Tush, here is no man that setteth a blank by thy counsel or conneth thee thank. Speak thereof no more. They know that remedy better than thou. But what shall we twain do now? I care most therefore. Methink if that matter would be wist.
Marry, we may go hence when we list. No man saith us nay.
Why then is the play all done?
Yea, by my faith, and we were once gone, it were due straight away.
And I would have thought in very deed that this matter should have proceeded to some other conclusion.
Yea, thou art a master, merry man. Thou shalt be wise, as I would near wend. Is not the question of nobleness now fully defended, as it may be so by a woman's mind? What wouldst thou have more? Thou toldst me that other day that all the substance of this play was done especially therefore, not only to make folk mirth and game, but such as be gentlemen of name may be somewhat moved by this example for to eschew the way of vice and favor virtue. For sin is to be reproved more in them for the degree than in other parsons such as be of poor kin and birth. This was the cause principle, and also for to do with all this company some mirth. And though the matter that we have played be not per case so well conveyed, and so with so great reason as the story itself requireth, yet the author thereof desireth that for this season, at the least, you will take it in patience. And if there be any offense, show us wherein, or we go hence. Done in the same, it is only for lack of coming, and not he, but for his wit running, is thereof to blame. And glad would he be, and right fain, that some man of stable brain take on upon him the labour and pain, this matter to amend. And so he willed for me to say, and that done, of all this play, shortly here we make an end.
They do not go.
They just stand there.
Vladimir and Estragon remain standing, looking out at the audience.
Rob, I think I've solved the mystery from last night, and it's very boring.
You solved
The
the mystery.
Hens of York.
The hence.
Hence
Yeah, I misread
York.
that.
You know when we were trying to work out what the Hens of York were?
Yes, no, but I thought it was. Oh, I didn't realise that was the tenor of your question. I got the hens bit.
Yes, no, I hadn't.
Right.
Yeah, me neither. It's because I read it out as singing hens, and I was like,
well,
no,
I don't know. I saw that, and because that was where we stopped on the first day. I saw that, and I thought, what else do we use a chicken as a metaphor for?
Yes, it's all right. We had that conversation last night.
And taking poultry to market was stereotypically a thing that country women did. So who knows?
So it's interesting. What we've got here is, exit Lucrece, and it's sort of B just going, I've got to tell my master this. This is bad news for Team B. No servant wants to tell their master that the answer is no.
And then B delivers what seems like the author's epilogue.
Yeah, well, there's lots of really interesting things here. If A comes in and says, "Right, what's the verdict?" and say, "Well, she chose the most virtuous one," and you went, What? People aren't going to start doing that, are they? Men never choose by virtue. Do we, madam? Do we, madam? And to the audience, all that audience business of do you choose this way? And it's really interesting. I mean, some of it's a bit tricky, but
To rock a rhyme that's right on time?
yeah.
Oh.
But I really like the way that just before B does the final epilogue, A just goes, "Well, that was a disappointing conclusion."
I'm agreeing with A that after all the fun we've had with A and B sort of playing to the audience, I just felt like the end was a bit of a damp squib.
I think this is actually, I'm going to put my little theory here, right? So the idea of the play, when the authors started writing it, was going to be a noble disputation between Cornelius and Gaius. And then as he wrote it, the minor characters took over. And and the play moves on, and there's something happens when that happens to plays, is if you hold on to the original idea, the play slightly dies, and the scene that you wrote first, and that feels like the first scene he wrote for the play, actually is the one you cut when you come to the final draft. And which might have been another way of disappointing the audience. They have been saying for days, and there's another hint of that, as thou toldest me that other day. I do think this is a two part over 2 different day performance.
Yes.
I'm increasingly coming to that conclusion. This is not one evening's entertainment. This is a separated event. So you've got to remember, all the business with the maid was a totally different day. And that may change our opinion of the doubling.
Indeed.
As well, because we don't know what other entertainments may be going on and who's available on different days.
Yeah.
Because if Fulgens is only available on Monday,
Yeah.
or he's doing something else as part of the entertainments, then
He's playing Medea that day.
yeah, because Nature is a play with a much larger cast for a same sort of event. But then if it's 2 separate days, then actually the doubling might function in a different way that I need to go away and think about. As we found with these readings, we can read a play with a much larger cast with a small cast because we're not playing the same character, and we're doing it in chunks. So maybe that appeals here. Yeah, it does feel like the ending is apologizing for the ending. Slightly.
But it's also explaining the point of the play, which is kind of weird because most plays don't do that. It's like, yes, this is what the play was about, just like maybe to encourage some lazy louts to sort of, maybe just do something a bit noble, a bit virtuous.
To basically check their privilege and use their powers of nobleness and wealth for good, and not for fancy clothes or music or hunting or
plays.
No plays. No. Fun is illegal.
Single source of all filth, as the Reverend Collier will put it in another 150 or 200 years. He was right. It is the single source of all filth, but we just rather enjoy wallowing in it.
It's quips like this. That's why I come here.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say something that had a content a second ago. Eric was just saying that plays don't normally end this way. A lot of morality plays do. Okay. They will ram home their point if necessary. I mean, they do. This one does it actually with a relatively light touch. And we've been talking about in the afternoon sessions. These are pre-Reformation. We don't get these the spittle that comes with post-Reformation plays, the invective, the hectoring. We don't get that. There's a much more nuanced thing. The expectation people are going to be a bit venal, but there is a roadmap to salvation. And this being a mostly secular play, is playing around with, people do stupid things, but there is a bit of nobility available, and that seems to be what's going on there.
Unlike other plays that go, "You will burn in hell."
Yeah,
And yeah.
yeah. When we get to things that are deeply Calvinist, there is no salvation if
This
you've
is
made
not
the wrong
bail.
choices.
I was thinking that there was a lovely, there was a play written a couple of years ago, and the direction at the start was, "This play should not be well behaved," and I was thinking that should sum this one up quite nicely.
I think also, despite perhaps the anti-climax, the climax, I think in the playing of it, I think it probably, you can iron those things out, and acknowledging it is a way of diffusing that. I also just want to very briefly mention at the end of the play, we have "Imprinted at London" by John Rastall, dwelling on the south side of Paul's Church, besides Paul's Chain. Chain, rather.
Beside Paul's Chain.
Chain.
I wonder.
It's south of Paul's. It's quite literally Paul's Chain. So yeah, south side of the precincts.
By the river, then.
Yeah. Well, no, it'll be on the side of the St. Paul's enclosure, as it were. The estate of St. Paul's is much larger. Then it's not like just the footprint of the church. You've got all the Paul's Chain end of that is where the booksellers presumably were, or this one was. John Rastall is one of the first printers of plays, and super important. He built his own theatre, or converted a space in his house for a stage, utilising some materials that he'd put together for King Henry VIII. So this doesn't get printed for another 20-30 years. So goodness only knows what it's doing between then. Helen was saying the other day about how plays get circulated, not just in printing, but also in manuscript form, that, copies are made and presented to people. So, presumably this play has a reasonably good hinterland in that sense. Nature, the other play that is by Henry Medwall, turns up another 20 odd years later after that. That's not till 1530. So, these plays lie dormant for a long time, and this play, as far as we can tell, just disappears. I don't think it gets another printing, and though it seems to have an influence, it may not be a direct influence on other plays, but there's an awful lot in here that does pop up in other morality plays. As I mentioned, Gentleness and Nobility. We do have a episode of the podcast on John Rastall, which will also be in the show notes for this, which is about him as a writer and producer of plays. He was very involved in theatre and very involved with the creation of it as well as the printing of it. And he wrote a play himself, The Four Elements, which we've touched upon, the PowerPoint presentation on science, which we will come back to. And I really want to get a physicist and a biologist, get some modern day scientists in to see what their opinions is. I'd quite enjoy doing that. Any final thoughts on this play? I've just done a lot of waffling on other plays. Liza, any final thoughts?
Well, I didn't know the play prior to coming in and reading it with this group, and I really like it. In part because I love theater where characters break the rules and break the box, and A and B do that so admirably. There's some really nice stuff written for clowns here. And it's a bit sort of Rocky Horror, a bit MST3K, with them commenting on the action and then entering the action and then screwing up the action, and doing their clown thing as clowns do. But it's really nicely written. The rhymes it flows. It doesn't feel overly stiff. There are times when it gets a bit rhetorical, but to be expected, and at least it's good rhetorical rather than oh God, can I have a sandwich yet rhetorical. Yeah, I like this.
Yes, I think it is a general thumbs up. We had a qualified thumbs up for nature, which is so much more serious morality play. But you know, this one has been mostly a delight, and I think in the playing of it, you can find so much more as well. And I really like the fact that Lucrece is is her own person and has a choice, and you know, there's none of this daddy sort of standing on her shoulder. You know, he vaguely appeals for Cornelius, but says no, it's your choice. And the fact that he is not in the room, I really like on that as well. At the end, it's her gig, and she gets on with it.
I think staging wise, it might be nice to include, you know, either over one of the last speeches or maybe over B's last speech about what the playwright really means by this, or is just to have Lucrece and Gaius dance.
Yes.
In an affectionate way.
If that can mirror the ridiculousness of Cornelius's mask earlier as well, that could be really quite nice. We can. I think we could add lots of little bits like
and
that
then
as
A and
well.
B dance.
A and B dance.
Yeah.
they see them dancing, and then they have to spoof, because that's their job, is to spoof the A plot. So
Yes.
if you're doing this lovely married couples dance, you know, first dance at the wedding, and then they just start doing I don't know, rumba. You know.
Add dancing, I reckon, but yeah.
I think they just do a very, overly dramatic tango or something, just for the hell of it.
Just right through the middle of them as well. They aim themselves very pointedly through the middle of the couple and just dance off with them. Eric, any final thoughts?
I can't breathe from laughing, and I don't know if that's just like I think that should say enough about the play. Yeah, no, I like the play. It's much more like, I don't know if it counts as a morality play. Does it?
No, not really.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly more fun than nature. I mean, nature had some funny bits as well, but it's kind of like very sort of, limited compared to this.
Yeah, I see them working very well together as companion pieces. You know, they're and as a demonstration of an author's skill.
Yeah.
I think they're brilliant because they really show, I can do this. I can also do this. Nature, you know, if I can write serious, and I think bits of nature are really quite beautiful and really nicely written.
Yeah.
You know, for the genre that it's working in, it does something really interesting.
Well, also all the elaborate description in nature and in this, where it's like, oh yes, the sleeves will be long enough to cover someone else's body and stuff, and it's like, well, I mean, you wouldn't usually like expect that kind of language.
That said, both of them have a slight problem with setting up some things that they don't quite deliver on, in the way that the sort of fight scene that's supposed to happen in nature never happens, and there's sort of a mini element there with the ending here of not having just a love scene of yes, I choose you, huzzah, which you kind of want, but don't get, and the play refuses to give you. And I wonder about the whether there's a reason for that, you know. But I don't know. Greg, any final thoughts?
I'm like Eric. I can't stop laughing. Brilliant. It's been an absolute pleasure just to find A's and B's just storyline and having great fun playing Gaius.
Yes, I mean, I have to say I did enjoy doing the rhetorical flourish. It gave me something to chew on. You know, it's a terrifying speech. I've had to learn it. But yeah. Okay, I think that's an all-round thumbs up from everyone. We've enjoyed ourselves enormously for this very, very old play, which has really polished up rather well. I think Henry Medwall really knew his onions and produced a rather fabulous entertainment. And if before this got printed, both this and Nature were being copied as manuscripts and handed around as his best work, then I think he had all reason to do that. All that remains is to thank these wonderful readers for their work today, and fare thee well. Farewell. Bye-bye. Ta-ta.